Hello all. Today we are going to cover a queue data structure, which is also known as a FIFO structure, that is first in, first out. This is equivalent to last in, last out structure, that is LILO. One can imagine a queue which we form normally at several places in our society. The queue data structure is something like that only. Its two ends are identified as the front end and the rear or the tail end. Rear is also known as the tail end sometimes. Elements are always inserted from the rear end, whereas the front end is always used to delete an element. In other words, whichever element is present at the front position, it will be deleted. No other element from in between the queue will be deleted. The basic operations which are allowed on queue data structure are as follows. Enqueue will add a new element always at the rear end of a queue. So enqueue, it is similar to the insertion operation. Then we have dequeue. It will delete the element which is present at the front end of a queue. So dequeue, it is similar to the deletion operation. Then there are few other operations available on queue data structure. They are is full. It will check if the queue has space to store more elements. Here we have assumed that storage space used for the queue elements is of limited size. So this function will return true if the queue is overflowing. Then there is a function isEmpty. It is used to check if the queue is empty or not. If the queue is underflowing, then the function will return true, else false. Then the function size will return the number of elements present in the queue. Then there is a peek function which will only read the element which is present at the front of a queue. Now let's take a simple example where we have a space to store 5 elements in a queue. And here we are talking about simple queues. So at the start, front as well as the rear pointer, they both are initialized to -1. Here we are enqueuing. That means we are inserting. So only rear will be incremented by 1. If we follow this process, that is enqueuing one element at a time, then after some time the rear will reach the last index. As you can see here, the rear pointer, it is pointing to index 4, and which is the maximum index available at this moment of time. So one more enqueue operation will flag the condition for overflow. On the other hand, when we dequeue, that means we are processing the deletion operation, so we have to update only the front pointer. The rear, it will remain as it is. So again, after some time, the continuous execution of the DQ operation will make the value of front greater than the rear, as is shown here. At the end, we have front equals to 5 and rear equals to 4. So front is greater than rear. This will now signify the condition of underflow. So basically there are two conditions to identify the underflow. One is when we have started, where the front pointer as well as the rear pointer, they both are equals to -1. And the another condition is this, which we are just seeing, where the rear pointer is less than the front pointer. Similarly, the condition for overflow is when rear pointer reaches the maximum index. So rear, if it is equals to 4 in this case, then that signifies the overflow condition which we have just seen. However, there is a problem with this implementation. And the problem is the way in which the conditions are framed. For example, here front greater than rear signifies that the queue is underflowing. On the other hand, when we see rear equals to 4, then it signifies that the queue is full. So it is underflowing as well as it is overflowing at the same time. Also, one can see that we have space to store the elements, but just because of the condition, we are not able to utilize the space right now. So the solution to this problem is the concept of circular queues. We just have to modify the conditions which we have specified for the underflow and overflow condition. Rest all the things, they will remain same. So we will first look into the simple queues in this session, and then we will have one more session on the circular queues. Now, defining the queue as an abstract data type first. That means we are actually going to give the logical definition of the queue data structure now. All the elements of a queue, they should be of same type. Then insertion will always happen at the rear end and the deletion will happen always at the front end. And front as well as rear end, they should be present at different points in the queue. Then comes the operations, and they are the initialize operation, that is INIT. Then there is a size operation which will return the number of elements in the queue, that is the number of elements which are present in between the front and the rear pointers. The init procedure, it is only going to initialize the queues. That is, we have to initialize the front and the rear pointer only. Then we have one more function, that is empty, that will return true if the queue contains no elements. In a similar way, there is full function that will return true if there is no space to store more elements in the queue. And such a situation will come when there is a restriction on the storage space which we are utilizing to store the queue elements. The function front, which is also known as peek sometimes, that is PEEK, it will read the element present at the front of the queue. Rest of the three functions, they are simple: enqueue, dequeue and print. Print is also sometimes known as the display function. So in this way, we have logically defined the complete list of operations along with the desired input and output list for each and every function. Now we have to talk about the implementation part. Then if we talk about queues, then there are two ways to implement queues. One is with the help of arrays and another with the help of linked list. So now starting with the array implementation, we will look at the enqueue and dequeue operations first. Then we have a look at the other functions. Here we have used static arrays as queues, so there is limited space available for the queue elements, and the availability of space has to be checked before inserting a new element. The same has been checked at line 1 here by writing the overflow condition as rear equals to n minus 1. If the queue is not full, then we will first check if the queue is empty or not by checking if front equals to minus 1 as well as rear equals to minus 1. If this is the case, then one has to update both the pointers, that is front as well as rear, to 0. Else we just have to update the rear pointer, that is we have to increase the rear pointer by 1. And this is so because the enqueue operation will only update the rear pointer and not the front pointer. And then finally the element is placed at the rear index at line 8. Similarly, when we talk about dequeue operation, the only pointer to be updated is the front pointer. A dequeue operation can only be executed only if the queue is not underflowing. Here at line 1, we are checking the underflow condition, and in else part, we are storing element which is to be dequeued in a variable text, and then we are increasing the value of front by 1. Now we are going to look at the other operations also by means of the actual implementation. Here we have declared a queue structure which has space to store elements and two pointers, front and rear. The init operation will only initialize the front and rear pointers to minus 1. The size function will return the difference between the rear and front pointers plus 1, as in simple queues front is less or equals to rear. If it is exceeding the rear pointer, then that signifies the condition for underflow. The function is empty will check for the underflow condition, that is it will check for front equals to minus 1 or front greater than the rear pointer. If either of the two conditions is true, then queue is underflowing and the function will return true. Else, if both the specified conditions are false, then only the isEmpty function will return false. Similarly, isFull function is checking for the overflowing condition, that is when rear reaches the maximum allowed index. If so, then the function returns true else it will return false. Then we have a function front that will just read the element present at index pointed by the front pointer. Here are the functions for NQ and DQ operations. The algorithms for these operations are already discussed, so we are skipping them for this moment. Then we have one more operation to print the contents of the queue from index position front to index position rear. Then we have a main function that will call these functions. Basically, we need to simply use the defined functions now without knowing any of the implementation details. Let's try to execute a few operations now. Initially, the front and the rear pointer, they both are initialized to -1. Enqueuing 5 will increase both the pointers by 1. So now front and rear, they both are at index position 0. Enqueue of element 3 will increase only rear by 1 because insertion will update the rear pointer only. Then we have executed a DQ operation and this is going to update only the front pointer. Next execution of NQ will update rear again and now a DQ operation will update only the front again. So after this, the front as well as rear pointer, they both are pointing to index position 2. Therefore, execution of the front operation will return the only element 7 in the queue. Next, execution of the DQ operation will make the queue empty as 7 was the only element present in the queue. And with the DQ operation, the value of the front pointer becomes greater than the rear pointer, which again signifies that the queue is underflowing. Therefore, one more execution of DQ operation will generate an error. Also, the isEmpty operation will return true as the queue is empty at this moment of time. The next NQ operation will update both the front pointer and the rear pointer to 0 as we have written in our implementation that if the queue is empty, then front as well as rear pointer has to be initialized to the first index available, that is 0. Therefore, as per the implementation which we have considered, the element 9, it will get inserted at index position 0 and front as well as rear, they both are pointing to this single element at the index position 0. Next, insertion of 7 will update the rear pointer to 1. Then we have executed the size function which will return 2 as there are 2 elements present in the queue right now. That is element 9 and 7. After this, we have performed 2 NQ operations and 1 DQ operation. So the final queue will have 3 elements 7, 3 and 5 with the values of the front and rear pointers as 1 and 3 respectively. So in this way, one can implement a queue data structure using arrays. In a similar way, one can use dynamic linked lists in order to implement a queue data structure. Again, the logical description of the queue data structure, it will remain same, but the implementation, it will vary now. So here we are going to discuss the algorithms corresponding to the NQ and DQ operations first. The NQ operation, it will create a new node and initialize all its members first. Here we have defined a node structure which has two members, a data and a pointer to the next node, and the same has been done at line 2 and line 3 of the presented algorithm. Here we are not checking for the condition of overflow. One may check it by seeing if the memory is available to create a new node or not. Here we have assumed that the node is created successfully. Therefore, if we are inserting the first element in a queue and assuming that the node is created successfully, then we have to update both the pointers, that is front and rear, and the same is done in the algorithm at line number 5. Else we have to add a new node after the rear node, as is done at line number 7 here. Then we have to update the rear pointer at line 8. This is so because rear pointer should point to the most recently inserted element in the queue. In a similar way, one can implement the DQ operation for the queues using linked list data structure. In deletion, we have to work at the front end. So, before deletion, we will check if the front pointer is pointing to a node or not. And the same is done at line 1 in the given algorithm. If front is existing, then we have to check if the queue is having a single node or not, because if a single node is there, then deletion will update both the pointers at line 6, which signifies that the queue is empty now. Otherwise, the front pointer will only be updated. And lastly, the node which is pointed by the front pointer initially, it has to be deleted. Here we have used a temp pointer that is initialized to front pointer at line number 4. And then the same memory is released at line number 9. Now again, looking at other functions, here we are using a doubly linked list in order to implement a queue data structure. Therefore, the structure of a node is having two pointers per node. One is the next pointer and another is the previous pointer. Here again, the init function, it will initialize the front as well as the rear pointers to null. As we have assumed that the node can be created easily, thus we have not written the isFull function to check for the condition of overflow. Also, the implementation present here is using a doubly linked list. Accordingly, here we have all the pointer updates for the NQ function. In a similar way, the condition for underflow is checked with the help of line number 21 and 22 instead of writing a separate function for this checking. Then again we have rest of the code for the DQ operation with respect to the doubly linked list. Lastly, we have a function to display all the elements present in the queue. Here we have not implemented the size operation and the operation to read the element present at the front of the queue. Then again we have to call the implemented operations within the main function and the corresponding output is also shown here in the slide. In this way, one can have an abstract definition for a particular data structure. For example, here we have the queue data structure, but there can be different implementations. So here we have considered two implementations corresponding to the queue data structure. One should always keep in mind that the enqueue and the dequeue operations should always take constant amount of time. So whatever implementation you are following, these two operations should get completed in constant amount of time. So we have discussed about the simple queues in this session. As far as the application of queue data structure is concerned, then they are used at several places like CPU scheduling, disk scheduling, etc. Also, any place that needs to work on the principle of a first in, first out can make use of queue data structure. So, with this, we are going to end this session, and in the next session of queues, we are going to talk about circular queues and a few more variations of this data structure. Thank you.